What?
That's what he
What?
said. I know, that's what he said. Who wants to go first on this?
That is blasphemous. That is blasphemous.
It's time for another video where I present to you news so bad that I have to soften it up with humor, because it really is blasphemous.
How dare you? How dare you say such a thing? That is insanity.
It's that time again where I offer you up tasty morsels of the utter blasphemy and questionable antics going on in the greater Christian and secular world. It at first seemed like a slow week in the world of degeneracy and blasphemy, but then in the past few days the world served us all up a steaming pile of blasphemy to bring to your attention. So let's start with blasphemy by one of the faithful leaders of the church in America, Cardinal Joseph Nighty Night Baby Tobin, who provided the Catholic world with this nugget of wisdom. When Jesus was baptized by John, he stood with all of us sinners seeking redemption. By the power of the Holy Spirit, the sinless Redeemer was reborn in grace as an example for us, and his Father was well pleased. This is a pretty weird take. I mean, openly and publicly saying something as heterodox as that normally takes guts. But frankly, I wonder if he even realizes that what he says will actually deeply disturb and scandalize the typical lay faithful. Needless to say, the backlash was real. You can view the tweets for yourself if you like, as they're still up on his account. He got what we who spend far too much time on social media like to call a rather negative response from the public. The response was in fact so negative that he had to issue a retraction of sorts, as seen in that second tweet. A clarification of yesterday's tweet. The church teaches that Jesus' eternal messianic consecration was revealed during the time of his earthly life at the moment of his baptism by John, when God anointed Jesus of Nazareth with the Holy Spirit and with power. That's also a weird take, as it suggests that Christ didn't understand his earthly mission fully. Charming, isn't it? Joseph Cardinal Tobin is the same prelate who had a known same-sex attracted male model and actor staying in his home for 2 weeks. Investigative journalist George Newmayer believes the recipient of the famous Nighty Night Baby tweet was the actor himself, though that is purely speculative. Tobin claims that the actor, Francesco Castiglione, was a guest in his rectory so that he could attend Seton Hall to improve his English language skills. I'm sure Castiglione could have afforded a room at a nearby Motel 6 if he had needed to, but Cardinal Tobin exercised real Catholic charity and took pity on the poor Italian beefcake and let him stay in his rectory instead. What a guy. In fact, he's such a good guy that he welcomed an acronym pilgrimage to his cathedral, and was named along with Cardinal Cupich by Archbishop Vigano as tools of McCarrick. Quoting Vigano in his first testimony, "The appointments of Blaise Cupich to Chicago and Joseph W. Tobin to Newark were orchestrated by McCarrick, Maradiaga, and Wuerl, united by a wicked pact of abuses by the first, and at least of cover-up of abuses by the other two. Truly, the Church in America is in good hands." But perhaps a word of advice to the Cardinal, done out of respect for the office that he holds and respect for the Church in general. Perhaps you should hire a social media specialist to handle Twitter and other platforms for you. It could be a part-time job for a college student at Seton Hall. I suggest this because, with all respect to your eminence, you've gotten into trouble repeatedly on Twitter. Our next Israel comes from the great state of Israel and its museum in Haifa. For this spiritually uplifting piece, we go to Crux Magazine's website, where they claim to be taking the Catholic pulse. Headline: Israeli Christians protest McJesus art display at Haifa Museum. Israel. That's pretty charming looking, isn't it? Christian leaders in Israel have condemned an art exhibit in Haifa, which they say is insulting to Christianity. The display by Finnish artist Jani Leinen, called Sacred Goods, includes a sculpture of a crucified Ronald McDonald called McJesus, a crucified Jesus holding shopping bags and a crucifix in a Ken doll box. A statement issued on January 12th by the patriarchs and other heads of churches in Jerusalem strongly condemned the irresponsible and provocative images at the Haifa Museum of Art. The content of the exhibition includes insulting images of the most sacred figures and symbols of the Christian faith. This issue is unacceptable and should be denounced and undone immediately. The respect of religious symbols and figures, whether Jewish, Christian, or Muslim, should be preserved no matter what, the statement continued. We realize that Israel upholds the right of free expression and speech. However, the character of the Holy Land and the sanctity of the three Abrahamic religions should be at all times respected and revered. Such an insulting behavior does not help the three religions in their mission to promote tolerance, conviviality, and coexistence among the people of the Holy Land and beyond, the church leaders said. They called upon the municipality of Haifa and the management of the Haifa Museum of Art to remove the images and demand a formal apology from the municipality or those responsible for the exhibition. On Friday, hundreds of Christians held a protest outside the museum, which resulted in 3 police officers being injured and one person being arrested. We denounce the exhibition and the injury to the holiest symbol of Christianity by an institution that is supposed to serve citizens of all religions. The Archimandrite Agrapius Abu Sa'id of the Greek Melkite Catholic Archpatriarchy of Acre told Haaretz. Sorry, I butchered the pronunciation of that. Although Leinen is a Christian himself, Abu Sa'id told the Israeli newspaper cultural sensitivities are different in the Holy Land. Okay, what is suitable for Europe and the Christian population of Finland is not suitable for our community and cannot be met with understanding, he said. Abu Sa'id also called on all protests against the exhibit to be nonviolent. We as religious people are meant to steer away from violence. Therefore, whoever thinks he can defend Christian values with violence is gravely mistaken, he said. Israeli Culture Minister Miri Regrev also called on the museum to remove the display. The museum has agreed to put up a sign noting the display may be offensive to some and to screen it off from general view, but has not agreed to take it down. In an article published later in Haaretz, the museum official said that they will not take down the blasphemous art display due to freedom of expression. To which I, a political free speech proponent, must reply, good, now do Islam or Judaism. Oh wait, you won't do that. And why is that? Well, let's not dwell on that too long because we won't like where that leads us. Finally, let's head back to the Catholic Church and Franciscan University Steubenville, which made headlines for blaspheming Our Lady. Church Militant's episode of The Vortex for yesterday, January 15th, was great on this issue, but I'm going to warn you, it's more than a bit graphic in a way that makes even me uncomfortable, and I have a high tolerance for this kind of thing. I do recommend watching that episode if you're not familiar with this story and can stomach horrific details. In short, an English professor, Stephen Lewis, had assigned his students the book The Kingdom by French atheist writer Emmanuel Carrère, a book which can only be described as pornographic. It details all manner of behavior that would send each of us to the confessional if, or sadly when, some of us engage in those activities. But the reason this is blasphemous is that the book portrays Our Lady, the Blessed Virgin Mary, the Mother of God, engaging in these kinds of obscene acts. That is truly blasphemous, and the university had the right, as an avowedly Catholic employer, to terminate the employee for behaving against the interests of the church, to put it mildly. It would be a bit like a Democratic Party activist campaigning for a Republican Party candidate in the political realm. No one would be surprised if he got fired for that. Yet when I Googled the story about this, the first article to show up in the search engine was the story from some atheist blog decrying intellectual freedom. To which I say again, okay, fine, but assign a book that does that to Islam or Judaism. Wait, that's not going to happen either. Huh. And no, I don't advocate antagonizing the adherents of those religions either. I'm just trying to make a point about how it's almost always Christians, and specifically Catholics, who are targeted for this stuff. Because, with a few exceptions, it's always Christians and usually Catholics who are targeted first for this kind of bigotry. That should be enough to get churchmen to avoid trying to play nice with the world, but alas, that isn't the state of things right now. But we're not done yet with Franciscan University Steubenville. Annually, they run these youth conferences that can only be described as charismatic in nature. The following clip is what I'll end on today. I'm torn on this. For context, the priests in question had just finished an hour of adoration with the students and then were, in an account given by apparently people who were there, dancing with joy afterwards. have a look at it for yourself. If you like videos like this, like and share this video and subscribe and click the notification bell below. If you're interested in supporting my work, there are various options in the description below, along with links to my Twitter, the Sources blog, and the Return to Tradition Facebook page. Thanks for listening. I'm Anthony Stein. Ave Maria.